of
I know.
doing something right.
Very creative, unfortunately.
Sure are. Well, last night we told you about the hundreds of sexual harassment complaints submitted by New York State employees over a recent 2-year period.
And tonight we hear from one of those people who claims the state failed to protect her rights in more ways than one. Our Emily Lampa has this Chew on Your Side original report.
Some water right now, okay? Would you like some snacks?
Like 70% of mothers with children under the age of 18, Tiffany Salato is a working mom.
They're hard to open, huh?
When she's not home caring for her kids, she's often on the road. Because the road is her job. She's a traffic signal technician for the New York State Department of Transportation.
And that's what I enjoy doing.
Which is why she says working in a male-dominated field is not an issue.
I started working construction when I was 18 years old, and I was a high-voltage electrician out of the lineman's local. That was heavy construction, and those guys were rough.
But she tells Two on Your Side the day she interviewed for her current job at the state DOT about 4 years ago, she knew this was different.
My supervisor asked me if I planned on having any other children, because that would affect his decision on hiring me.
This was an interview we did with Tiffany back in December when she joined the Me Too movement, speaking out about her former supervisor.
He would not call me by my name. He would call me her, she, the woman. He would call me anything but Tiffany.
After that story aired, the Department of Transportation issued a statement saying they took immediate and appropriate disciplinary action against the employee in question, who is no longer in state service. But Tiffany filed complaints not just against her former supervisor, but the DOT and state of New York as well. In the documentation, she outlined instances where she feels they violated laws meant to protect working mothers.
It's completely unacceptable.
We sat down with Tiffany again to get an update on her case. As of January, it's been a full year since she and her lawyer first filed this formal complaint with the Division of Human Rights. But they are still waiting for this case to move forward. Tiffany admits she's in it for the long haul. She's willing to see this case all the way to trial, not just for herself, but all the women who face workplace discrimination.
They don't have to feel this way. There are laws and you do have rights.
In her complaint, she documented the alleged harassment, which she felt got worse after her former supervisor found out she was pregnant.
He told me to take the doctor's note and to get out of his office. It was not his problem.
And when she returned from maternity leave, she claims there was similar hostility towards her request to pump breast milk at work.
He was very aggressive about it, and I wasn't allowed anywhere to do that.
New York State's lactation laws, according to experts, are some of the strongest in the country. Some of the key requirements: employers must provide a clean, private place to pump, and that space can absolutely not be a restroom or a toilet stall. Despite this, Tiffany showed us pictures of various restrooms she claims she had to use because the DOT, a state agency, allegedly did not provide what the law requires.
I knew that I needed to document. I knew I needed to provide pictures. I needed to provide documentation of where and when I had to pump. And I needed to make sure that I just had a paper trail.
The DOT Traffic Signal Department is on Evans Street in Hamburg, which the complaint states does not have a restroom for female employees and did not have a private place to pump. Tiffany claims she had to jump in a car, drive down the street to another DOT shop to use their women's facilities. If she was out on the road by herself, she'd pump in a work truck. But Tiffany says that rarely happened because they typically go out in teams of 2 to 4 crew members.
I had to ask them to stop and take breaks in McDonald's or at a gas station. You feel less than a mother because this is something that you're trying to provide, something to sustain your child's life. And you have to do that in a dirty bathroom.
State law also mandates break time so that mothers can express milk every 3 hours during her work shift. Tiffany claims that didn't happen either.
My son was born in December. I returned to work in February, and being out in the freezing cold and having my chest so full and expressing milk on its own, and to work 8 hours through the day with a wet shirt, and then the smell and everything else. It was just horrifying.
In her complaint, she said she only managed to do this for 6 weeks, and she had to stop nursing her son after 4 months.
Did you ever have to explain this to your supervisors, what you were going through?
His direct response was so disheartening and so uncomfortable that, I never had gone back to him again. But then going to his supervisor and having it just be brushed off and ignored just put me in a very bad place to have to handle it on my own.
We reached out to the state DOT requesting an interview, but they turned us down. They did, however, send us this statement just today. The complaints filed by Ms. Salato related to her position at the New York State DOT are being investigated per the appropriate state and/or federal laws. Meanwhile, Tiffany still works for the DOT, not willing to part with a job she feels she worked hard for.
I'm not going to take it.
No,
I did nothing wrong.
Do you think about that every time you're driving into work in the morning?
Every morning. Every morning I think to myself, how can you be the best person that you can be in dealing with this situation?
Now, we reported yesterday on the bigger picture with state government regarding sexual harassment allegations, and our reporting found that the State Department of Transportation has had 21 complaints over the past few years that are being handled internally. Now, Mary Alice, we spoke to an attorney, of course, who said that, obviously agencies that have long been dominated by an all-male workforce, like the DOT, tended to have those more complaints.
And in her case, too, many important lessons, but one of them, keeping a record and documenting your experiences.
Very important.
Yeah, interesting report. We'll look forward to your follow-up. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.